Bobby.
Stephen Brooks, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I know, with your leg up on my couch.
I'm nice and liquored up.
With your, by the way, you're wearing sweatpants and you have one leg pulled up.
Yeah.
Now, is this like a dorsal fin situation? Are you like trying to cool yourself off by exposing some skin?
I'm making my own shorts. I'm not cutting the fabric or anything, but it's just, I'm just.
Is that just for my benefit because you're wearing pants?
I'm giving you a little something.
Give me a little skin.
Yeah, you can get a gander at my.
A gander at your gams.
Gams.
All right. So this episode is going to be a long one. Yeah. And it's going to be an explicit one. I have to say this now, so if you're listening to it, in mixed company or whatever, we're going to swear, but I don't think we swear until like 20 minutes in, something like that. I'll give you a little bit of warning, I guess. But point is, we have not recorded for a while. We're going to recap all of that. We talk about a lot of stuff because we haven't talked about it in a while. We recap the Annie Awards, Coyote versus Acme, obviously. We touch on some of the AI discussions, obviously, the tag AI and animation report and Sora and stuff like that. Then we go on to rapid fire and we talk about all sorts of like movies and TV that we have watched and, catch up on and other stories. And then I leave you with some recommended reading and watches. So if you're listening to this on a podcast app or something like that, go to rubberend.com/podcast and find this episode. And there will be links to all this stuff. I will put, video links and embeds onto the blog post, which will make it, easier, I think, for you to follow along. I don't think we didn't even talk about Steamboat Willie. That happened during the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, you made your cartoon.
I made a viral hit.
Yep.
Finally, after all these years, it just took an hour to animate this.
And it was on what?
It was on Time Magazine. Now, listen, they didn't.
No, it was on a Times article. It wasn't in Time Magazine.
It was
show off.
Front cover, my face, my mug. No, and they didn't even say it was me. They go, other creators are using Steamboat and sampling. They made it seem like I just took the actual video, which I'm flattered, and they said and added profanity. It's like I didn't also add profanity. He curses and he also shoots people because I took footage from Rambo. So, yeah, I'm very upset with that. They didn't mention my name, but it's an achievement there, and it's almost at 1 million views.
Oh, wonderful! That's amazing. It's also a very old story, so I don't know if anyone even cares about it anymore. Well, I want to say welcome to episode 296 of the Rubber Animation Podcast, and we're calling this one Wile E. Coyote Ugly. It's great. So it's a little Coyote Ugly for people who know Coyote Ugly. Wile E. Coyote. Mm-hmm. So it's funny.
Yep.
It's funny because it's an ugly situation.
Imagine this movie gets canned and then new movie comes out. Oh, yeah. A new movie comes out with that other Wile E. Coyote from the one with the sheep. He has a red nose.
His name's not Wile E. Coyote. It's
Ralph?
Yeah, you're right. It's Ralph Wolf. Yeah.
Ralph Wolf has gotten a new movie coming out. How crazy would that be?
He's got a red nose. It's kind of a Chip and Dale situation.
Yeah. Same actor. Just wears a red nose. Like Robin Williams wearing a red nose for Pat, Dr. Pat.
I promise the rest of the episode isn't this bad.
I'm Don Bluth.
I'm Harry Partridge.
Hi, I'm Tom Moore, teenage superhero.
My name's Adam Phillips.
This is Robert Valley.
And I'm in no way doing a forced plug. No, sorry. Definitely go for that.
And you're listening to...
Week.
I started recording just now.
Oh.
Well, just before I started recording, we were saying, what do we talk about on that? Because usually we start with a how you doing.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out what are we gonna talk about? Like what you and I just hung out anyway.
Yeah.
So what did we talk about and how you doing? And I guess that is the thing, how difficult it was to record this
Yeah. How am I doing? Terrible.
Well, I mean, you just had a project. You just had something for the Late Show that started. It was a relatively simple request.
Yeah.
That kind of turned into something that was more than what you were expecting, and that happens all the time. That's a very common.
Yeah.
You know,
it's one of those things where it's just they tell you the idea and they go, "This isn't going to be a thing for months," and then they go, "Hey, that thing." It's now, and we need it.
But also that thing that wasn't really supposed to do much, you know, and now it's got to look this way. It's got to do these actions that you weren't planning for. And it was we were supposed, I think we did 3 days in a row. We were supposed to record and then, hey, you know what? Is it good? How you doing? Can't believe we didn't even mention this. It's Leap Day.
Oh, yeah, we got an extra, what is it? An extra day in February?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? That was the working title.
Do you not know what Leap Day is?
Well, it's Superman's birthday. I just thought maybe.
Wait, is it?
Yeah.
No, really?
I saw that on Twitter. I don't know. It could be a lie.
Oh,
but
I feel like a lot of.
Is it his Earth birthday or is it his birthday?
Oh, his Kryptonian birthday, or is it? Wait, are you saying for real, like in the comics? Or are you saying
I just
when
saw
he was created?
A post. It's Superman's birthday.
I love that this is part of the how you doing because we don't have to look it up. Don't have to look it up.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be right. All right, so actually, let's kick this off with. You know, it's been a little bit since we've done the last show, and the last show was our 10-year anniversary, and we recorded that in mid-October because that's when the anniversary is. So I got to count it up: November, December, January. We're in February, so it's been a little over 4.5 months, basically, since we recorded an episode.
I mean, after 10 years. I mean, do you really want to record more?
All right. So what are we kicking off? Because we're back to drinking some bourbon.
Yeah.
We're drinking.
Unfortunately, not in our rubber onion glasses. R.I.P.
No, not yes. Yeah, they smashed to pieces. That was my fault. I will freely admit that it was a silly thing. I had them up and displayed because they were drying after using them.
Yeah,
and so they were up on something, and I was playing with my new puppy, and I threw a toy, and it just kind of got away from me. It was one of those that had like a string on it kind of thing, and it kind of like veered off to the right, and it knocked off a few things, and one of the things knocked into the glasses, and the glasses fell on the floor, and then they just shattered. Yeah.
I thought you figured out that guy you were interviewing wasn't Kaiser Soze.
Oh, but then why would I drop both? I was just double fisting.
I mean, yeah, he was a tough nut to crack. So you need. I don't know why you're drinking coffee in those glasses anyway. That's not a coffee glass.
Because was he saying, he was like, you know, I worked at a rubber factory. You know, I don't care for onions. And then I'm looking at it, I was like, rubber, onion. Anyway, so this is Elijah Craig is what we're drinking.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
we have a fair amount of things to talk about, so I think we kind of just got to get to it. But I think
leap to it.
I think leap to it. I think there is something to at least. Was that your throat?
That was my.
I don't think anyone could hear that because that was one of those. Is this an old man thing? I don't know. When you swallow something and then like a minute later, your throat tries to equalize the pressure. It's just kind of moving some. I just swallowed a little air there. It's just kind of anyway. What the hell was I saying? Oh yes, we should mention that even though I think it took us a while to record this, the plan is to record monthly.
Yeah.
And that's it. To get an episode out monthly. There's some other things that I'm planning on doing, and that you might do. That we just want to get back into the habit of a regular post.
Yeah.
So
without dying.
We're recording this. We were supposed to record this on Monday, and I was going to upload it like at the end of the week. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to get it up on March 1st, but we'll see. I'll do my best to.
It's going to be a smooth operation, especially the more we drink this Elijah Craig.
It's going to be great, especially since the fact that I just inhaled a little drop of spit, and now I want to cough.
It's all right. My neck is making boiling sounds, so
We're not in the greatest of shape. It's a real quick downturn that happens. All right, I think we're done with the how you doing segment, huh?
that's how we're doing.
Yeah, that's how we're doing. It's a solid 5 minutes and 45 seconds talking about how we're. Well, I mean, I guess we really should just bring back the animation news of the week.
Oh, I was just like, speaking of swallowing saliva, I was doing that. I think.
Well, animation news of the week. I mean, obviously, animation news of the week used to be something. We did a weekly show, and we may do a weekly show again. Who knows? No one. Certainly not me, but
me.
it used to be that we would do animation news of the week. It's the thing that we started, I think, in the 100s or the 101 is I think the first time we did it, and now I would like to introduce this as a new way of thinking about animation news of the week. Animation news that is still relevant this week, I think is maybe the way to think about it.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
like it.
All right, so. Here is what I would like to talk about very quickly. The first story, and that is the Annie Awards.
Yes.
The Annie Awards were obviously in February. Now, we had planned on doing... Now, when I say we, I say
Yes.
I had planned on doing a stream for the Annie Awards. And yet again... It was something that it was just a thing that was suggested, and you were taking a trip the next day, and we're definitely not going to be able to do that. It's like a late night thing. Turns out there is a couple things that were significant, I guess, about the ceremony, but I don't think there was anything quite as magnetic as the drunken Pat Oswalt year.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the best
That might have
one.
been the biggest thing where it was just gone completely.
It was a
off.
beautiful train wreck.
Yeah.
And he was just so funny and and on it, and clearly won't do it again. But
Yeah.
it was anyway. A couple of things that I want to mention about this before we actually get into it. The main significant thing, I think, is there was no Disney feature nomination.
Yeah.
Wish didn't even get any craft nominations. There was nothing for Once Upon a Studio, which I actually heard good things about, but I think it's also telling that I didn't see either one of those.
I saw Once Upon a Studio. I thought it was really fun and it was nice. It was a nice little celebration of Disney, but it really is just a commercial, I think.
Well, sure.
There was that moment there's a moment where Mickey is looking at Walt Disney's photo, and he's kind of like, I guess maybe not tearing up, but he's, it's like a sentimental moment in there.
Walt, you abandoned me. I'm gonna be public domain.
And then like these demons rise from the ground and
like Ghost.
yeah, and they drag him to hell.
Oh man, I were watching Ghost as a kid.
That
demons
scared me.
the ripping paper sound effect when the shadows came out. Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that was terrifying.
Okay, back on topic. The artists of Walt Disney Animation were honored with a Special Achievement Award. It was just it was an interesting combination of things where Disney itself was, and it's impossible to know if they pulled, well, I don't know if it's impossible to know, but I don't know if they removed themselves for nomination contention, because you can do that as well. I think maybe you might do that if you just feel like, we're probably not going to win. I don't want to the indignity of losing to,
I could see that being a move, but
yeah, and I think they've done that in the past. I just don't know if they did this time. Excuse me, my little nose got a little stuffy. Gonna try to not edit this podcast. We'll see.
Man, you're gonna hear all our body sounds.
I don't like describing his body sounds. So let me just, I'd like to just quickly go through these, not line by line. I'm not going to go through all of them. I just want to start at the bottom because I think it's of this list here that's on the link.
Gotcha.
And go through it. So first, we start with Best Editorial TV Media. Nominated was Blue Eye Samurai, Hilda, I Am Groot, Star Wars Visions, and Legend of Vox Machina. And then Best Editorial Feature was Elemental, Leo, Nimona, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, Who do you think? I mean, you can see my computer here. I have my computer right in front of me, and you're sitting next to me, just so that people get a little image of us just hanging out on the couch, making body sounds, drinking bourbon, talking about animation. Who won for best editorial TV media?
Spider-Man.
No, TV media. TV.
Oh, TV media.
Yeah.
Oh, the Ninja Turtles?
Nope, that is not a thing.
I thought you just read the list right now.
No, I did. But best TV media: Blue Eye Samurai, Hilda, I Am Groot, Star Wars Visions, Legend of Vox Machina. I'm going to help you out.
Samurai.
Blue Eye Samurai won.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is that each one of these. Oh, there's my puppy.
That answer's wrong.
Yeah, each one of these, they're nominated for an episode, right? So like. No. Blue Eye Samurai was nominated for episode 105, in case you're wondering, and there was one editor for that. And then the rest of them, some of them, Hilda had 2 editors, I Am Groot had 1 editor, so forth and so on.
How good does that feel, being the one editor
right?
who won an award? You're like, yep.
Because best editorial for features,
that's right.
Elemental, Leo, Nimona, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Are you calling Spider-Verse?
Yes.
Okay, Spider-Verse won. Spider-Verse is the only one on this list that does not list off the editors. It just says Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse editorial team. Now, I'm assuming that means that there's just so many editors that they can't list them.
Yeah. If there was one editor, I would assume they were on crystal meth the whole time, because that's...
Well, I mean, most of these, it's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one. So there's like, each one of these movies has, actually, are they all 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, Nimona has 4 editors, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has 4 editors. So Elemental and Leo both have 5. But anyway, I just found that one little fact kind of interesting. But this is the pattern that you were going to see. Blue Eye Samurai winning for TV. Everything that they were nominated in, they won. Any time that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is nominated, they won.
Yeah, rightfully so. They deserve it.
I mean, sure.
While you're talking, I'm going to pick up my mic a little bit because it's sinking somehow.
Great. I'm going to keep that in.
Yeah, let's just keep that in.
Okay, so I'm going to skip the, best writing. Blue Eye Samurai won. Okay, best writing for a feature. I'm going to read off the nominees here.
Okay.
Nimona, Robot Dreams, Suzume, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and The Boy and the Heron. Which one won? Because, see, Spider-Man's not nominated here,
yeah.
So which one out of these won?
Turtles.
No, Turtles did not win. Nimona won. And, very good for Nimona. I found it fascinating that...
Oh, not the show.
No, I found it fascinating that Spider-Man was not nominated for Best Writing.
Yeah.
Seeing as though Lord and Miller are writers, and it's nominated for basically everything else, including directing. I kind of wondered if that is because this is an industry insider award show. And we didn't actually get to talk about it, but the article that came out, I think it was it Vulture that reported on it? I can't remember what reported on it, but all the insider issues that were on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the poor treatment of the animators, the having to redo things over and over and over again. So some people were on it for a year and had nothing to show for it. All those kinds of things. We saw the backlash against that to Lord Miller. So I actually kind of wondered if that was a response to that. I don't know. It's another thing that I find interesting.
Yeah, it seems like, because if they're in every other category, for them to not be in that,
right? I found that
been a decision of theirs.
Yes, it was, and they're also not nominated for best storyboarding, which I found interesting. That's not related to the writing thing.
Yeah.
I don't think, but. Yeah, anyway, so let's skip back up to the best feature. I'm just going to say best feature independent, Robot Dreams won. And I think Robot Dreams now is finally getting a release here. I think it's just getting a release in the United States.
Oh, okay.
The best feature, obviously, for the movies is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's up against Nimona, Suzume, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and The Boy and the Heron. I have seen all of these except for The Boy and the Heron.
Oh, okay.
Suzume, I signed up for Crunchyroll to watch it. I'm just gonna.
You still have your account?
I do.
No.
I took a little flip through, and I just it's not for me. But Suzume, it's interesting. It's an interesting movie. It was hard for me to kind of get my bearings on it. Just so a main character turns into a 3-legged chair and is kind of that way throughout the movie. So just to give you a little taste of what kind of movie you're in for. It's interesting. Nimona, I liked a lot of things about Nimona. I think it's an important film. I think I'm very happy that it finally saw the light of day. It has some, kind of animation quirks in it that are just that I don't personally like. And visually, I thought that it was very interesting in some ways, and in other ways, it kind of felt a little underbaked.
Yeah.
But I mean, it had such a rocky development that I think it's great that it's out there, and story-wise, it's great that it's out there. But also, the comedy just didn't really hit it for me. So, I love me some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mayhem. Actually,
man.
They just announced. Getting a sequel. I mean, we kind of knew that there was going to be a sequel, and I saw a Q&A at MoMA, and he was all but confirming that they had a sequel. Like, he was like, I can't talk about it. I can't say anything.
Pretty
but
obvious. I mean, I don't know if it did like.
It did well.
Did it?
Yeah. It did
okay.
well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So it was a given thing.
Yeah.
So.
And The Boy in the Heron, I want to check out. It's always every time Miyazaki comes out with a movie, it's like, oh, this is his best movie ever. And then you watch it and go like, I don't, it's good, but like best movie ever. He's still got it, I think, is what people should say.
It's beautiful. I didn't see it, but the trailer was nice.
Great. The trailer was nice. Great.
4 stars.
I think what we should mention is Eric Bauza.
Yeah.
He, I mean, maybe I'll link the video, but him saying, and I'm paraphrasing, both Bugs and Daffy, but release the cowboy or no, not cowboy. Release the cowboy. Release the
Coyote versus Acme.
Is that just what he said? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Trying to about the hashtag, and he's like, maybe this is like the end of my career. I think he might. I don't know if he leaked the video, leaked the original picture. I think he posted it, but I don't know if it was not supposed to be posted.
It's been going around. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, he's the voice of so many of the Looney Tunes characters now. He is a very prominent voice actor. Like he is kind of like one of the top dogs right now. And it was really nice, I think, for him to do that. There's a lot of people who feel that loss very deeply.
Yeah, he's been really kind of pushing that movement on Twitter. It's funny, like as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's a fun thing to animate. Daffy Duck. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. Yeah, but there's some that are really impressive. Like very industry standard, on-modeled Bugs Bunny and Daffy. I was like, wow, they did that in like little time.
Well, I guess it's time to talk about the next story. That's you.
Yes. Our next story, speaking of
I mean, you know what the next story is.
The next story. Oh, yeah, obviously. We're moving on to Wile Coyote versus Acme.
There you go.
Yep.
I mean, do you want to set it up?
I mean, it's kind of ironic, the story about this, because the whole point of Wile Coyote versus Acme is like...
wait, hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Let me just say, you said Wally versus... Acme.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But it's not even Wile Coyote. It's just Coyote versus Acme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coyote versus.
Hey, I can't talk. I just said release the cowboy.
What?
We're not even drunk yet. This
No,
is
no.
Normally this is the kind of stuff that I'll choose to cut out things for clarity's sake, just so it's not annoying to listen to two people who have been doing this for 10 years now fumble over themselves, trying to make a show, trying to desperately be professional. I mean, we haven't recorded for 4.5 months. Give us a break.
Wile Coyote versus Acme.
Great. Acme.
Acme
There you go.
is it's a movie
Versus Backney.
that is 100% done.
Uh-huh.
Everyone who's had the pleasure of seeing it says it's amazing. It's everything you want in a movie, and it will never see the light of day.
Yeah, actually, so it's I guess good that we're recording this on Leap Day because Will Forte, one of the Wills, Will Forte has given his thoughts, and he said, quote, oh, you know what? Actually, let me back up before that, and because I think we have to set up, I'm sure everyone knows the situation by now.
Yeah.
But essentially the situation is 4 or 5 years ago, we had heard about they were going to make a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner movie. That was kind of the thing that was going around. Then they were like looking for a writer, and then it was going to be a Coyote movie specifically. I like the idea of a Coyote versus Acme. Like, I don't know what the story is. I didn't really read that deeply on it, but
it's him pretty much suing because of all the failed attempts of trying to catch.
I like that idea. I mean, even the title is pretty obvious that that's what's going on. I'm just saying I just didn't read it to confirm it. I like the idea. That's a funny idea. I don't know. Just from the picture, I'm just assuming that Will Forte was going to be his lawyer. It's a funny idea. So anyway, this is under the previous regime of Warner Brothers. In the time that this movie was being made, AT&T sold Warner Brothers to Discovery, and David Zaslav was determined that he was going to be, the CEO of Discovery. He was going to be the CEO of this new joint thing. And in the ensuing time, obviously, we had the pandemic, and streamers are consolidating this merger and various other things. People are trying to reduce their debt or their operating costs. Yada, yada, yada. We have movies that are being killed for tax reasons.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with this. And the question kind of becomes, if everyone who saw it likes it, why kill it?
Yeah.
What's the benefit of it? And I do want to get into that a little bit because I kind of started reading more than I would have liked, and well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But here's his response. I know that a lot of you haven't gotten a chance to see our movie, and sadly, it's looking like you never will. He continues that he first heard about the film being deleted. He hadn't watched it. So I was thinking what everyone else must have been thinking. This thing must be a hunk of junk. I can hear him saying that out loud. But then I saw it, and it's incredible. He said more, super funny throughout, visually stunning, sweet, sincere, emotionally resonant in a very earned way. As the credits rolled, I just sat there thinking how lucky I was to be part of something so special. That quickly turned to confusion and frustration. This is the movie they're not going to release? Now, I have to say, having just watched Madam Web, you know what? This is going to be an explicit episode, so if you've been listening and we haven't swore so far, just be aware. What a total fucking bummer. Because that movie is horseshit.
Yeah.
Madam Web. First of all, I thought it was very funny. I can't remember the last time, even in a comedy, that I was laughing so hard tears were in my eyes. The final frames of that movie are so goddamn funny to me.
Yeah.
Just and I can't even talk about it without spoilers, but it's like they came to the end of the movie, and the resolution of the end of the movie is like, oh, isn't this great? We're finally in this final form of whatever. If you know the character, okay, fine. But if you don't know the character, it's played in such a weird way. And also, I don't know Dakota Johnson. She just has a permanent shit-eating grin. And like, you put these two things together at the end, and it's very, very funny. So yes, it is a profound bummer that Madam Web is released, and then we have Coyote versus Acme not being released. And the big question is like, why?
Yeah.
He goes on. Look, when it comes to Hollywood business stuff, I don't know shit about shit. Even when a movie tests well, like ours, there's no guarantee that it's going to be a hit. Oh, he's rhyming now. At the end of the day, do we drink when other people rhyme? It's his forte. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the people who paid for this movie can obviously do whatever they want with it. It doesn't mean that I have to like it and I fucking hate it or agree with it. And it doesn't mean that this movie is anything less than magnificent. Forte ends with, "You'd be so proud of it, a movie that's seen but should be seen but won't. Please know that all the years and years of hard work, dedication, and love that you put into this movie shows every frame. Thanks. That's all, folks. Will Forte." Okay, so it's a very nice message. And that's what I would call an empathetic team message. You know, something that really shows. I feel this. This is like nothing, and other people who maybe don't have the kind of voice that Will Forte does. He's speaking to them, for them. This, everyone's feeling this at the same time. It really
it's
sucks.
Interesting, because I was wondering where like John Cena's in it as well, and he hasn't really said anything.
It's hard. You can't expect everyone to come out and make a statement on something like this, because they have teams behind them that might be saying like, don't do that. And this might have been something where Will Forte releasing a statement like this that is well written, but I'm sure that it was like put together through like a team of people. No doubt he actually feels these things, but the point is like, I don't know. I don't think John Cena is like a bad person for not saying anything about it. Like literally nothing he says is going to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, I think the lesson here is he shouldn't be part of your animated movie, because it's this movie and Scoob. Chris. Well, it's
the same company.
Yeah, the first Scoob came out. And it was the second one, so they had a chance. I was wondering the other day. I was just like, what is it about this movie that really gets to people? Because this happened before, and people complained about it, but they moved on very quickly.
Right.
I think this has like mystery box value, where you're just like, what is it? Like, it's, if you have OCD, this is killing you, knowing that this movie, people are talking about it, people have seen it, and you're never going to see it. It bothers me. It doesn't keep me up at night.
I think it's also an extension of the Batgirl thing, because it's the same company. Jeez, my nose is like, it's the same company. Obviously, Warner Bros. Discovery killed the Batgirl movie, took a tax write down on it. Did the same thing with Scoob, the Halloween one, right? The Scoob something.
It was a Christmas movie.
It was a Christmas. Okay. Anyway.
I mean, why would you put Scoob?
So anyway, that one, and then this one, same company, kind of high profile movies, and we all kind of know what's going on with them. Everyone's read it. You're getting a tax write-off. I don't think anyone really knows what that is, or a lot of people don't know what that is. I think some people do on the surface, and I would like to talk about that a little bit. But I just wanted to check the battery.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's an extension of the Batgirl thing, just because it was such a high-profile project, and this is another kind of high-profile project. It's one that people know about, and it just feels like a pattern. It's like you're destroying these movies that people would want to see, possibly want to see, that involve people that we know. There's something to the continuation of the Batgirl pain, you know what I mean? Where it just feels like you're just killing all these like finished movies. And I think the frustration, if you want to know that OCD kind of frustration, or the fear of missing out thing of why, if it's done, what damage could this possibly do? Especially like Batgirl, they were saying it's not good. This one, they're saying it's good.
Yeah.
And it's not just them. I mean, people who had saw early are saying it's good. why would you not release it? What possible reason could you have to not release it? I think that's what is getting to people.
Yeah. It seems like something that will, especially, I feel like if it was just released and like without any of this backlash, it has a chance of doing well. But like judging by a lot of Looney Tune movie history, they don't have a great track record with this kind of stuff. But even the controversy of drumming up this drama of like this might be deleted, and James Gunn said this is great, he saw it. I think you would think like once that's out, all right, now we're gonna put it out, everyone's gonna go in and I have to see this movie now,
right,
because of all the hype that it's been having.
So that is one possible avenue. This is the part, I think, of the podcast that I kind of hate. Not that I think that you need to know the business side for any other purpose other than to, I guess prepare yourself for the for the worst if you're on the other side. But this show, we talk about the entertainment industry. So obviously we talk about entertainment, but we have to talk about the industry side of it as well. Looking at the business side of things is good, but this every once in a while there's a story where it's like looking into the sun, where like your retinas burn, your brain starts overheating, you start going insane.
Yeah.
So first off, we have to tackle the big question. Why would you do it? Obviously, there's the tax incentive. What does that even mean? Everyone knows, I think, what a deduction is. As a freelancer, if you make $30,000, in a year, you haven't paid taxes yet, you're gonna have to pay taxes on that. Like 20%, whatever. It's like $6,000, right? You're gonna have to pay $6,000 at the time that you pay your taxes on that amount of money that you've earned. But if you, over the course of that year, spent $10,000 on like marketing and equipment and client, trips and things like that, then you can deduct that from your earnings. And essentially it's an agreement with the government. They're like, okay, so we're not going to tax you on that money because you put it back into the business. You earned $30,000, but we're only going to tax you on 20 because you spent 10. So you have saved the amount of money that would have been taxed at $10,000, which at 20% is $2,000. So deducting $10,000 off of your taxes got you the amount that would have been taxed. In this case, that's $2,000. With me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, I think most people get that. It works in a very similar way, but I have to give another analogy. This is, again, the big business is really, really tough. You need a degree to really get this, and I have done my best to understand it throughout the 10 years that we've been doing this show and my experience in the industry. We're not business people in this. We quote things.
I'm the exact opposite.
In freelance and stuff like that. I had an LLC. Like, there are certain things that we know. I do my own taxes. But when it comes to big businesses, this is where my brain started to melt. So I'm going to do my absolute best to try to explain this as quickly as possible. Okay. Okay. So we're like 20 minutes in talking to the story. I'm going to try to do it quickly.
Yeah.
The other analogy that I need to say is, let's say you have a car. You get into a little fender bender. You have insurance on it. You take it to go get fixed. The insurance company says, it's going to cost more to fix this car than we have valued it. So we're just going to give you the value of the car, or whatever the value is on the policy. We call it a total loss, and you put that money toward buying a new car. Right? That's what happens.
Insurance does that.
Insurance does that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in order to do that, insurance goes, okay, we're going to take the car and we're going to smush it into a pancake. And we're going to melt it down for metal. Yeah. We have to destroy it because obviously, they don't want you going like, okay, we're going to take the money and then I'm also going to have this car and like, hey, maybe I could get a friend of mine to fix it up, for free. And then I'll be driving around this jalopy and then I use the money to get a new car. I have no shame. That's what they call fraud.
Yeah.
So there's that analogy. So what happens with the a movie In this case, I've been saying $80 million. I guess they just did their Warner Brothers Discovery. They just had their, their whatever earnings report thing, and they on that thing they claimed a $70 million tax write down on the Wiley versus, or sorry, Wiley, the Coyote
He's
versus.
cowboy.
Yes, the cowboy versus Acme movie. So I guess it's $70 million.
Yeah.
So let's assume tax rate at 70. Let's assume it's like 30%. It's somewhere like $20 million would be how much taxes you would pay on 70 million. Something like that. So in order for a company to say, we want to not pay $20 million on our taxes, they kill this thing that is worth $70 million. They have to delete it. So when people are like, well, why don't you just like release it? Why don't you just like put up? They can't. That's fraud. You can't do that. And I don't know exactly how it works at that level, but someone's like, hey, well, it's got to exist out there somewhere. I'm sure it does. I'm sure someone has it. They delete it, but I'm sure someone is going to have it. But the person that uploads that, you're looking at jail time. I don't know how much someone wants to release the Coyote versus Acme movie.
Yeah.
Unless they think they can absolutely get away with it. So
Just dark web.
I don't think anyone's going to see it. I just don't think that anyone, I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. It's possible. And I don't know who's on the hook for that. Is it them? Is it Warner Brothers? I don't know. But the reason that they would do it is to save $20 million on the taxes that they would normally pay. That's why. Now, if you spent $70 million already, people are like, well, you already spent $70 million. Why wouldn't you put it out there? Well, there's a few things that happen when you release a movie. Obviously, you have to market it. You have to get it out there. There's not just advertising, but there's also like, I don't know, toys or whatever, there's brand crossovers. There's also a DVD, Blu-ray release. There's a whole bunch of things that kick off when you release a movie. So you spend $70 million to make the movie. Usually it's considered anywhere between 50 and 100% of that budget is marketing. So you're looking at $35 million to $70 million. So anywhere from $100 million to like $140 million is what this movie is going to be going to be worth. And that's how much they're going to spend on the movie to release it. Right now, it's 70. Right now, that money has already been spent because remember, this was started under a previous regime. Discovery bought it from AT&T, and with it, they bought everything that was currently in development. The current thing that I have been thinking about is like, you buy a plot of land. This is an analogy that I heard. You buy a plot of land, and then the developer kind of goes around the land and is like, okay, well, that house that's currently being built or that house that was just finished being built, this is not in line with my vision. So tear it down. It's a complete loss.
Get that gazebo out of here.
Exactly, and we're gonna put up a line of cookie cutter houses. We're gonna do something that looks exactly like Edward Scissorhands. So that is the closest thing that I can come to an analogy of like understanding what is happening right now. He's took over the business. And he's kind of looking through everything. Sorry, go ahead. You wanted to say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say like. I know that there is a method to the madness, I guess, but like, because obviously there's a big chance that it could have flopped and then they don't make their money. So is it like let's say something like this where they spend tons of money is more likely to get this kind of what's happening to it now than a smaller budget movie where it's not going to do well.
Yes, I think so. I think it's probably more worth it to release. So we've seen bigger budget movies. I mean, DreamWorks did it a few times in the past that we know about, that we talked about in this show. I don't think we ever dug deep into exactly why. You usually just think like, oh, they just thought it wasn't going to be good. But that's not always what happens. They're trying to save money, and one of the quickest ways that you can do that, it seems, God, it's so hard. Okay, instead of the money thing, let's at least tackle the why not release a movie that could be good, right? There's got to be some sort of calculation that goes on in the minds of the people that are making this decision. And again, I am fine saying David Zaslav is like, you know, the big bad. You got to pick someone, right? And he's the one at the top. But I don't think David Zaslav is the one making all these decisions. He's not up there with a big red marker just like Xing out things. He has a team of people who are assessing things and bringing suggestions, I think. And then he's making the call probably of like where to go, or he might not even be doing that. There might be other people, but the buck stops at the top. Right?
Yeah.
And it has to be him. So obviously all ire goes to him, and I'm sure he's probably fine with it.
It's making me think of who's that guy, Martin Scorsese, whatever.
Yeah. The diabetes guy, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was like AIDS medication.
Oh, it's AIDS medication.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between like, you know, not being able to afford the AIDS medication and not being able to see a Coyote movie. But it almost made me think of this kind of like, I'm doing this. I'm the big corporate monster that you see in all the movies, and I'm enjoying this. Like, and now he's playing this character as far like he has the Wu-Tang album that like no one's gonna hear. And
Yep.
So it's just kind of, so we're coming from that, and then you see this kind of thing, and it's just like, yeah, I know everyone wants to see this movie, and no one's going to see it. I'm going to take Wile Coyote, and I'm going to hover him over Dip, and I'm going to slowly put him in their feet first.
Just like this!
He used that shoe.
It's true. And, you know, listen, we need a villain right now because, you know, to point at, because things suck. Things suck right now. The reason why I'm even talking about the business side is because I do think it's important for us to know how, like, not just why things suck, but the depths of how things suck. Like the amount of suckage.
Yeah.
Because, okay, you have a movie like that stars Wile Coyote. Let's say it is a great movie, right? Let's say they release it and they spend I don't know, let's say they spend $40 million on the marketing and everything to go out there. Let's say they don't like go, you know, crazy with it. Now it's $110 million. They have to make back at least $110 million to, you know, to get their money back off of this.
Yeah.
And that's not bad revenue. But obviously, that's not really what the goal is. The goal is to make more money. But remember, the $70 million was already spent. So essentially, the company that bought this, Discovery bought Warner Brothers. That $70 million was already earmarked for this movie. So it wasn't. It's kind of like it was already spent. It's not really, you know, every year. It's hard to think of it in those terms. So they're not really thinking of it in terms of losing $70 million. They just have an asset that is worth $70 million that they are like, well, what do we do? Do we spend this amount of money more to put it out? And how much money are we going to get back from that? Which means they are going to have to get a significant amount of money to kind of equal that stuff and get that back. They were looking at, well, it's not going to perform very well in theaters. That was their assessment. I don't know how that all works. Maybe it would have been great. If it doesn't do well, that's not great. Might be an embarrassment. I don't know how they're calculating it. But then they also said it's not good for streaming. I think it's probably not good for streaming in their eyes because it's not going to really make any money. It's not going to build up whatever brand that they're building for Max. I have on my wall. I just thought about this. I have on my wall a print of a Chuck Jones sketch. Wile Coyote standing on a cliff edge, and an anvil is falling and breaking the rocks between the edge and the mountain. So it's that moment before he falls, right?
Yeah.
And underneath it says, "Anxiety is the handmaiden of creativity." I have had that for years, just because I like it. But also, Chuck Jones is, it's like my hero. He's kind of what I model all my comedic timing and expressions and everything off of. And that wall actually has Don Bluth up there. It's got Sleeping Beauty. It's got all of the big impacts on my animation life.
Yeah.
Well, Wile E. Coyote is my pick. I've told you before, my favorite is Daffy Duck, but notice the similar attitudes, the similar characters of Wile E. Coyote and Daffy Duck. They both are kind of the villains, but you also kind of root for them, and they're kind of like, they're their own downfall, and they overreact to stuff. And anyway, I just say that because what I want to say comes from a place of love. No matter how well this movie did, it was not going to raise the public awareness of one of the most popular cartoon characters of all time.
Yeah.
And they probably made the assessment that it's probably also not going to make the average moviegoer go, oh, I want to see more Looney Tunes movies. They're probably just going to look at that and go like, that one was good, and stop there. For us, it's a whole world. For us, in our animation bubble, or even people who just like love Looney Tunes, people who are already primed for this, which is a big audience, but it's not really going to change our attitude toward the character. We already love the character, and we're going to want to see any Looney Tunes stuff that comes out. The people who don't really care are going to watch it and go, that was good, and never think about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a new Looney Tunes movie coming out. It's 2D. It's all hand-drawn. And I think it's their first hand-drawn, like, animated movie in a while.
Full animated movie.
Yeah, just fully animated. And, like, I guess, they're all in it. So it's going to be one of those, like,
and
there's value in it. I mean, look at Space Jam.
But see, you're I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to say that is kind of what I was getting at with Batgirl. They killed Batgirl. And they, Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to be in that one. That one was supposed to be in that one. And like, this is great. How could you kill something like because he was going to be in The Flash, and The Flash was going to be released in theaters.
See, that seemed even more insulting because you got rid of a movie that was starring like a black actress. As Batgirl. She's the main character, the hero. This is coming after like the Spider-Verse thing, and then it just like you let the movie, who with all these allegations happening with this actor, that gets a pass, and that seems so insulting.
I am so glad you brought that up, because this kind of dovetails very nicely into my next thing, which is. Well, no, not ducktail, dovetail.
Oh.
Dovetail. Okay, you know what? We're done with our drinks here.
Yes.
Let's take a pause. I'm gonna finish my thought there after we refuel.
Oh yes.
With second. So we did Elijah Craig. This one is gonna be Bullet Bourbon. So here you go. Let's do this here.
Oh.
I didn't do my normal thing, which is to do the little,
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go. Do a little.
It's very Wile E. Coyote sound.
I know.
Boop.
There you go.
Thank you.
Wait a second. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. Businesses don't give a flying fuck about your shit. It's complete. This is the thing. It's completely dispassionate. So, regardless of everything, regardless of what's going on, if they think the money is going to come on this side of the equation, on the positive side of the equation, they're going to go that direction. If it's going to come on the negative side, they're going to go in a different direction. And for whatever the calculation, for whatever the, as they say, bean counters had decided, Flash was going to be a better investment of the first reveal of the Michael Keaton Batman character, the release in theaters. Actually, they might have actually thought if people might, because of the allegations and everything, we can't stop it. Michael Keaton's in it. If we kill Batgirl, maybe people will go to see The Flash because Michael Keaton's in it. That might have been a calculation. There's probably many, many different reasons why they did it. But the point is, it is a dispassionate calculation that they made.
Yeah.
To kill this movie, release this other movie. And that's, I think, what you have with Coyote versus Acme. You could say, oh, well, wouldn't it make you excited to see this Looney Tunes movie? Maybe not. Maybe they thought it wasn't going to perform very well as a hybrid movie being in the theater. Maybe they wanted to push their full animated movie. Maybe the full animated movie is going to be on streaming. Maybe they just feel like, you know what, the Looney Tunes property is just going to be on streaming. Maybe that's just going to be what it is. I heard something recently that I guess they had say what you want about the showrunners of Game of Thrones, but I guess the last season story, they wanted to do like 3 movies instead of taking the regular season and splitting up into 2 halves.
Yeah.
But HBO, I guess the quote was like, they were reminded that HBO stands for home box office. It's very, very cheeky. But I think that, you know, there are some decisions that are being made right now with companies going like, what's a streaming property? What's a theater property? And anyway, dispassionate response. They had decided that this isn't, if it does well, great, but it's not going to do good enough to offset the possibility of it doing badly. And even if it does well, we don't really gain much in terms of, you know, looking forward to future things. So that's might have been why they killed it. This is why, what I'm getting to, and I'm only saying this not to excuse him, not to excuse David Zaslav, or not to excuse the company. We have to talk about why, to at least place it in our brain. The question, he hasn't even seen the fucking movie.
Yeah.
He hasn't even seen it. Because it doesn't matter to him. Because it's a completely dispassionate response. It doesn't matter.
Like,
all that
like
stuff.
Xanos.
Thanos. Yeah, Xanos. David Xanos. Zaz knows.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Yeah. No, okay. Bringing up the Batgirl Flash thing is a great example. You know, it's not really thinking about life and stuff like. We're coming at it from a holistic life standpoint. You know, we're looking at it as like, you can't just look at it in terms of the money. You have to think about it in terms of like, you know, the net good. I mean, I hate talking about the net good, but in this case, I guess that's what people are feeling. You know, it would be a good thing for your company. However, the moment they made that decision to cancel it or to kill it, they're not going to go back on that.
Yeah.
Because all these agents and people like Guillermo del Toro calling and saying like, you got to save it, and then they had this screening where they screened for like Netflix and all these people of like, oh yeah, we're gonna totally buy it. It's like, I think. So,
do you think that was humoring us when they were like, oh, we're gonna try to shop it around to Paramount and all these other networks, because there's a big chance. Let's say Paramount or someone brought Wile E. Coyote and it did well. That could really kind of screw them over.
I mean, it might not screw them over, but it's like I don't know. Those things get really complicated. But what I was kind of getting at is, I think I made the analogy to you when I was talking to you earlier about it's like putting something up in like a yard sale that you don't want to sell. And you raise the price so high that nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they did. I mean, they were basically like, we're not going to accept anything less than $70 million. Okay, but whoever buys it is going to have to front a lot of that marketing cost. You know, I'm sure that the production company has to front some of the marketing costs as well. I actually don't know how the marketing thing is. I think the production company is the first one to start marketing, and they front most of it. And if a different distribution company is doing it, then they take over a lot of it on kind of the back end. I don't know who pays more. My assumption would be the distribution company would pay more marketing, but if they don't really own the rights to, it gets a little hairy because like, what are you gonna do? You can't do like Happy Meal toys, right? I mean, that has to be under the control of the people who own the IP, which would be, Warner Brothers Discovery, right?
Yeah.
So like they're going to have to pay money to continue.
I wonder if they started working on merchandise for this and it just.
I don't think so because I don't think it got to that point. I mean, if they hadn't thought about releasing it yet, I mean, it kicks. Maybe they did, but once you make the decision to release, I think that's when everything else kind of kicks off from there. But I mean, maybe they had started. But the point is, those kinds of deals, if it does well, yeah, you're not going to get the credit for it. You're like, it does nothing for your company, and you're going to make other companies money because they're going to get, like, you're sharing in the profits of whatever the results are. It just doesn't really, again, dispassionately, it doesn't really make sense for them to sell it at this point after there was already a backlash.
Yeah.
If they could have decided to sell it to another distributor before all of this, but because they decided to kill it, and then they were like, oh well, maybe we'll try to sell it, and that was like a stunt. It feels like, in order to get people to be on their side of, oh well, I mean, they tried to sell it, but like nobody would buy it. But like, it's so transparent.
There were so many things like that. They were also like talking about directors who were saying they're not gonna work with Warner Brothers or be, for further projects.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's.
But also, maybe they will. There's other companies out there, but with all these companies merging together, if Warner Brothers Discovery is like one of the last three standing, they're going to change that tune.
Yeah.
But the point, and maybe not. I don't know. I'm being an asshole, but it's the reality. It's the harsh reality. It can be the harsh reality. I mean, if you're given an opportunity, you go where the opportunity is. But what was I saying? Oh, there might be something in due diligence where you have to, if it seems that companies are willing to buy this thing, if you are telling the government this thing is a total loss, we're not going to get our money back from this. We want forgiveness from these taxes. There might be some law in the books that's like, you have to do due diligence. You have to see if you can sell it to someone else. Like it might be there as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is where I don't understand things. We've talked about it for so fucking long now.
It's a subject.
It is an interesting subject. I think it is, because I have my own feelings on this right now, because I feel like people are looking in one direction and not looking in this other direction of where I think things are kind of important. So let me just...
Wile Coyote's done that.
Exactly.
He got hit by a bus or whatever.
Truck.
Yeah.
Let me try my best to explain for people, as I understand it, how money in this whole big business thing works. And there is a point to this.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this to you before, but I'm going to try to make it faster. Again, I don't agree with this. Okay. I'm very sad that we're not going to see this. I am not making excuses. I am trying to educate, even though I am not a producer.
Don't kill the messenger.
Yes. Okay. Money in big companies. I mean, huge companies.
Yeah.
Conglomerates, right? It's complicated. We have 4 columns is how I distribute this. You have revenue. That's the money that you take in, obviously. There's expenditures. That's the money that you spend. There's debt. I don't know if there's a company, like a big company, that actually doesn't have debt. And then there's a 4th column, taxes. And you might say taxes are a lot like the expenditures because you have to pay taxes, but you have to pay taxes on the money that you spend on projects. So like, let's not go down that rabbit hole because your brain starts to melt a little bit. You spend $70 million on a movie. That's an expenditure, right? It takes some time for that to develop into an asset, which would be a movie. So if you think of it in terms of like a board game or something, you gotta go around. You gotta go around 3 or 4 times. Let's say each round is a year, whatever. At the end of that, you get a little pip that goes on top of that $70 million in your expenditure column, and you have now an asset that has a face of Wile E. Coyote. That is worth $70 million. You have 3 options, basically. You can distribute yourself. You can send it out there into the world of capitalism, which I mentioned before is usually like you have to spend 50 to 100% of the cost of it. So you have to spend like another $30 to $70 million to actually get it out there and do the whole thing. So you can do that. You can sell it to someone else, which we just talked about, or you can tell the government this $70 million thing, this asset that I have, total loss, crush it in the compactor, smush it, burn it. I don't need this car anymore. Give me the money, whatever. In this case, it would be, I think it's like $20 million. And that comes off of your taxes. Now, there's the debt side of things. The debt column. Have you ever heard anyone talk about the national debt?
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
Our feet touched there a little bit.
That was
a
nice
like
and,
sweet little
awkward.
moment. Have you ever
As you talk about the national debt.
have you ever heard about anyone talk about the national debt?
I've heard, on the news, and I have also heard like the Dow and all that stuff. I have no idea. I like there's never going to be a moment where I can figure it out.
Right. So the debt kind of makes my brain soft.
Yeah.
When you talk about big business, and the same thing with the United States, if you ever heard anyone talk about this, you'll probably hear this, that the debt is really just kind of like an accumulation of, it's like a summation. You're adding up all of the numbers on the balance sheets from like thousands and thousands of deals, from hundreds and hundreds of sub companies that you kind of run under this gigantic umbrella of this huge media conglomerate, right?
Yeah.
It's not one big debt. It is, but it isn't, right? So you kind of have to just imagine it as a number. In order to reduce that number, it's very complicated shifting of numbers on various ledgers and things like that. It's all a shell game. It's very complicated. It's like magic. Like I said, you need a degree to get to that level. I can't even begin to think about accounting at that level.
I don't know basic math, so I can.
Well, then it's great that I'm talking to you about that. Like it's, I will say you're doing very well. Usually your eyes gloss over when I'm talking about this. I don't know if you're doing well or if I'm doing well, keeping it normal. But there's a lot of numbers here. So let's just kind of, okay. So that's what the debt is. Mm-hmm. Okay. When a company says they want to reduce their debt, they do it in a few different ways. Remember, we have 4 columns, so you have one column that's debt. Let's say they do it in 3 ways, but really it's 4 ways, but I'll get to that in a second. You do it by reducing your operating costs, right? So that's your expenditures. Mm-hmm. The quickest way that companies do that, the quickest way that you are going to reduce your operating costs is layoffs. Whenever a company says we're going to consolidate our debt, we're going to reduce our debt, get your resume together, because the first thing they do is layoffs. There's layoff trackers all over the place. Fucking Paramount just what was it, 800 people? They just fired 800 people?
Yeah. I
Still,
currently work for them.
You still work for Paramount.
Listen, I'm sure they had reasons for doing this.
Of course they have reasons. Their reasons is to reduce the
All hell
expenditure.
Paramount.
That's what I say. It's to reduce expenditures. The other way to reduce expenditures is to cancel projects, cancel things that are currently going on. Remember CNN Plus?
Yeah.
Cancel that shit. Or to just not greenlight new stuff.
I mean, there was a merger that was going to happen with Paramount and Warner Brothers that they recently decided not to do.
Well, so that's we should, yeah. I mean, I can pause to talk about that. Let me just say that in those cases, you know what? Actually, remind me about that. in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so reduce your expenditures. Layoffs, don't greenlight as many things, kill anything that is currently in production that you think is not going to be worth it. So actually, Paramount, that's a good example. They just killed Noggin, right? They just totally destroyed that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That's like the
Preschool.
Nickelodeon.
Yes, it's a preschool thing. I think it was an app, and then it started being the place where all these shows would live, and then they produced like original content and games and things like that. So yeah, they killed that off. So that's actually a really good example of what I'm talking about. This is what companies do. They are reducing their expenditures because what they want to do with the debt is they don't want to do it all. It's not one thing. They have to spread it out over multiple different things. They're not just going like, well, we're going to lay off everyone and then that fixes it. They're going to do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. So expenditures, they spread it out over that stuff. Then there's revenue. Obviously, it would be great if you just made more money, right? So if it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. But that's the point. With a big ship, like a huge like cruise ship, if you stop greenlighting stuff or you cancel things or whatever, that's the equivalent of like turning off the engine. You turn off the engine, you still got that momentum. That ship is still going to go. You're not even going to know that the engine is off for a while. That's kind of what it's like with a big company. So I feel like what they do is they kind of they turn some of their effort toward marketing and pushing some of the stuff that they think is going to do well to try to make it as much money as possible. Just, playing the lottery, hoping that something is really going to hit, right? And so that's really all they can do. They just want to make sure they're either making the same amount of money or they're making a bit more, so they put a little attention in that direction while reducing their expenditures. The other thing you can do, which we are learning, this is the new one that is shocking people. Kill a project and get the insurance money. Kill the project and get the taxes. It's something that's been done in the past. We just have not talked about it, and it hasn't been done to such high-profile things in such short succession. It's like in vogue now, but that does seem to be a thing. It's kind of the layoff equivalent, where it's a way to get a large amount of money very quickly. So they just take something, they go like, this doesn't fit with our vision. And if you're dealing with a company that has taken over another one, it's always a new vision. They're always going, well, we're gonna do new stuff. The Batgirl thing, maybe it didn't fit into the Gunniverse. James Gunn takes over it. Snyderverse is done, Gunniverse is in. Maybe it just didn't fit into that whole idea, and so they just decided, okay, this is the way that we exit out of that and reboot everything. I don't know if that's what they're thinking in terms of the Looney Tunes property as well, but it may be. The point is, new regime. This is now apparently like a viable thing. They're just like killing off things for tax money.
So two things. Do you think the failure of the Space Jam sequel might reflect what happened?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Also,
yeah. It doesn't matter how good the movie is. If they think that people are not going to be willing to watch a Looney Tunes movie, they might avoid it.
And the reason why this new Looney Tunes might come out, because it's fully animated.
It's fully animated, and it includes all of the characters. It's
but also,
possible.
this is following Tom and Jerry.
Right.
And, Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale did okay. Yeah. But that was also streaming.
I wonder, though, if...
That was only streaming? Or they released that in theaters?
No, that was only... Yeah, that was
only streaming, right?
And I think Disney... Well, there was a time where movies like Wile, Coyote and like stuff like this would just be like, oh, it's not going to be in theaters, but we're going to put it on our streaming service.
Right.
And I wonder if this came out during the pandemic, would have just been released on...
I think 100% it would have been released because, first of all, they were starving for content, and second, there was not is it going to be in theaters or is it going to be on streaming? And it was before the whole, is streaming even worth it? And it was before the strikes.
Yeah,
which honestly made it like the strikes. Whether the strikes were good for workers, but there is an effect, and I think we have to be honest about the effect. Was that it kind of not gave permission, but it did give a window for companies to go, okay, now's an opportunity for us to tighten our belts.
Yeah,
they
and
kind of
people, not that this is just anything, but people were literally watching anything because they were starving for content, and
right.
It was easier to be like, oh my god. I mean, I was a little bummed out that King Kong versus Godzilla. Is that what came out?
Yeah. No, that came out in theaters as well.
Oh, okay. But
they did release it in theaters.
But it was first on HBO Max.
No, they released it simultaneously, I think, because
okay.
I was gonna see Godzilla vs. Kong in the theater, but nobody would go with me, so I watched it on HBO Max. Yeah.
I think it's what it was. But
I just want to point out that I had invited you to go watch Godzilla vs. Kong.
And I was like, wait, that's the one with the gorilla?
Yeah, exactly. So,
and the lizard?
Where was I? I was at the columns, right? I was now in taxes. Obviously, taxes. You film something and you get like tax write-offs for filming in a certain place. Like obviously, there's other ways to do it. So I'm trying to relate it. There's different ways to get money in each one of these columns. All right. There is another way to do it as well, which is to reduce your debt, which is to just sell off an entire like arm of your company that has attributed to it a debt. And I think that's where Paramount comes in. I think there was talk at a certain point about kind of selling it off for parts, like not as one big thing, but there's a bit of streaming, there's this property, there's the movie property, there's like TV stuff, CBS, whatever. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, currently I think Skydance is still the highest bidder, the most not the highest bidder, but the most likely bidder. I think it's still likely that currently, as we're talking, that it's likely they're going to buy. But this is also, it's like the final season of Succession. Like the whole point is I don't know if this is the final season, but it's one of the seasons of Succession where you have to do due diligence. If someone offers money and it's going to raise if it's a good deal and it's going to raise the stock prices, you have to entertain that idea because you are required to do what's best for the stockholders, the shareholders. Hey, there you go. I guess we should drink on the shareholders, right?
Yeah. To shareholders?
No. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any stocks? I don't have any stocks. I don't think. I mean, well, no, I have a 401. No, I have a IRA. So I guess technically I have stocks, but I don't think it's not the same. It's
I do not.
I'm trying to save for my retirement. An IRA at this point is not going to really do me any good. Guys, if you're in your 20s, please start an IRA. It's the easiest thing you can do.
I do have I think I have like a pension union plan thing that I have that's
from Burrow from
Burrow.
the government.
Yeah. Just kind of saving up.
So anyway, let me just get, because I'm kind of going off on this thing. All those columns. Remember how I said that the debt is made up of all these numbers, all these numbers, but it's like an accumulation of numbers off of thousands and thousands of balance sheets from thousands of deals and whatever.
Yeah.
Every single column is like that. Your expenditures, your revenue, your taxes, everything is thousands of, it's like millions of pieces of paper. Everything is like that. It gets so incredibly complicated. So this is where the whole debt thing becomes a shell game. You're just kind of moving numbers around. I say this all just to say that two things. One, if you want to know why a company is doing something like this, it is because they have determined that it is the best for their money. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, it doesn't matter what you as a person sitting here look at, like, oh, wouldn't it be so much better? No, it wouldn't. If it was, they'd do it. They do it because all they care about is money. If there is one thing that you can be sure of, if they thought, and listen to my explanation of all this. This is the simplest, basic, baby version of big money. And it's not even scratching the surface of how complicated it is. If they thought that they could make more money by releasing this, they fucking would. They don't think they can. Now, the other side of it is you have to incorporate the is it bad for your image, right? Is it bad for your company? Sometimes a company will do something that is like, not a good look, like release that Flash movie and with all the allegations and stuff. But they did it because they were like, it's going to make us money. And I don't think people care that much. Surprise, surprise. They were kind of right.
Yeah.
And it fucking sucks. But that's the way it is. And I'm not saying that they're not smarter. They just know their business. And this is where I feel like I want to get to my point. Two things. One, we are in a dire place in our business right now, our entertainment business.
Yeah.
If you are an animator, if you are an artist, if you're fucking anyone who works in the entertainment industry, it is a dire place. You have 3 fault lines that are overlapping on top of one another, and the movement of this plate tectonics, all these these continental shifts of these companies buying other companies and selling things off. And we had a pandemic, we had the streaming bubble, we have strikes and two new deals that the companies are gonna like change their policies to try to make it the most profitable for themselves, because obviously there's so many things that are going on right now. This is the biggest threat to you currently. There are so many kids that are graduating from art school right now. I saw something, I was trying to look up numbers. I couldn't find exact numbers, but I saw something that was like, this year is the highest number of like art graduates in years. And there are just so many more people that are entering the workforce. Probably because of the bubble. Probably because there was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty stable thing. But no, it actually wasn't stable. We gushed over the amount of money that Netflix was spending on animation, and they are killing everything. They're just slashing every animated project that they have.
Yeah.
It's across the board. This is the threat. The threat that we have right now is twofold. It is companies that are tightening their belts, which means not greenlighting things or just straight up canceling things or killing things that already exist so that they can save money, because they have to look out for the shareholders. Then there's it's a very serious thing, and I'm like, I'm doing this like, okay. Then there's the other thing. Like, if someone had not listened to that episode, they're like, why is he doing this
like that?
Okay. It's a thing for the podcast, for the listeners of the podcast. If this is your first episode,
just look back in the catalog. You'll find it.
I apologize. Please don't listen. Please don't listen back.
Very early episode.
Don't. Start at episode 101 and continue on from there. And even then, I'm not like, I'm sure we said stupid shit, but okay. The other thing is, you have so many people that are joining animation now that, honestly, I feel like we're entering a bit of a reckoning, that there are going to be people that are just going to finally. I mean, I've said this a bunch. I'm sure you. I mean, you just really started your animation career in earnest, because you had your day job and then you had other things.
Yeah.
You just started your thing, but like, a lot of us have already said throughout our careers, like, okay, I think this is it. I think I'm just going to quit animation just periodically. It might happen to some vets. I think it's going to happen to some young kids a lot. You're just going to be like, well, I did this for school. I think there's going to be a lot of changing of careers. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to be like, this is not sustainable. I can't work in this industry because there's not enough jobs. So you have these two things that are happening at the same time. That's actually only one of the points.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even then, it was just like trying to get into the industry. You ask that question all the time. It seems like an overly asked question of people who are in the industry, and it was like, it really is a lot of times you have to know other people and somehow. There's a lot.
There's a lot in referrals. There's recruiters. currently are not as active as they once were. Jobs are not as, it's really, really dry right now. And I'm just seeing a lot of vets that have had careers and years and years and years of the career under their belts that are having a difficult time finding work. It's very dry out there.
Yeah. I
just feel like we are at a nexus zone of some really difficult things. People are going to give up the animation career. That's just, it's going to happen. There's not enough jobs to support everyone. And even the jobs that are left are going to be, probably they might be sparse. We might see an uptick in animation. I would love it. I personally think that the right thing to do for superhero movies is to pivot to animated superhero movies. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Spider-Verse alone should prove that animated superhero movies are the way to go. And they cost less. They cost $100 million or under. They're not $250 million, right? Yeah. If you're looking at a way to tighten your belt, that's the way to do it. And also, those superhero movies don't need to be, they're timeless, right? So yeah, okay, they take 5 years to make. Great. It's still going to be relevant in 5 years. Yeah. It's a superhero movie.
And the value of it is they're animated. So obviously in Spider-Verse, Miles is aging, but there's that kind of thing.
Sure, voice actors, time, exactly.
Bringing it on and making more. There could be tons of Ninja Turtles, new voices. It's also
they actually cast kids for that, so you can't really do that. Cause
you get new kids. It's fine.
The new kids on the block.
Yeah, get some new kids on the block.
So anyway, it's a big threat, and I actually. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to discuss this is this is a huge issue right now. This is the big threat is big companies merging and not spending as much. You get involved in one of those. This is why I said directors, we'll see how long they boycott, because if you get it can work out really well. Big companies are not inherently evil unless you think capitalism is evil, and then in that case, sure, they're evil because they just run by capitalism. They're just robots. They're robots run by people. The big companies will go based on what is going to be the most profitable and whatever, and sometimes those things align. Sometimes you get a Barbie movie that is successful against all odds and is actually really good. And
that was the Lego movie as well.
Yes, exactly. And it's sometimes that really works. And yeah, wasn't the Lego movie Warner Brothers as well? Sometimes that really works.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get stuff like this. And right now, we're in this situation. So beware. But the other side of that, and I want to give a little optimism, the other side of that is hopefully this will see, as our bubble has burst in streaming, this is going to see the growth of something has to fill the gap that has left. And I think not independent exactly, semi-independent, limited budget produced films, or films that were produced independently and then picked up by a reputable distributor, A24, G Kids. I think this might be the era. We talked about Vivian Madrano, Vivzy Pop, with Has-Been Hotel and A24 picking that up, and the era of the independent creator may actually have a small time in the sun because of all these mergers and because of all the belt tightening and everything. It might, in the short term, like I said, it's a big ship. They're going to have enough projects that are going to carry them through revenue, whatever. But if they're tightening their belts now, in a year or two, there's going to be a dip in stuff that the big companies are releasing. That gives a window to some smaller companies, possibly. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm not an industry insider, so to speak. But this seems like everything seems to be a response of something else. There's the studio era, and then the late 60s, all through the 70s, the smaller budget experimental film auteur era of filmmaking. I mean, that was a response to that. Mm. And then you get big money, and then there's tech kind of enters its way into the world, and there's streaming, and now maybe we get a response to that. Maybe we're entering a new Criterion auteur era of filmmaking, including animated stuff. And animated stuff is cheaper. It takes longer to make, but it is cheaper.
Yeah. If you look at stuff like when Fritz the Cat came out, that was very much anti-Disney, and Disney was like the main kind of, for a long time,
right.
But if you look at the Annies now, I beg to differ. But I would say, like, if you're a young animator, just obviously, like, I've done a lot of free animation for myself, but if it's something you're very like passionate about, and just keep don't get rusty on it. If you're gonna take a break from it, don't get rusty. Just keep.
Don't get rusty?
Don't get rusty.
Oh, I think say Rushdie, like Salman Rushdie. Don't get.
Keep doing it as your hobby if you're working a regular job, and like, hopefully, when things get back to some kind of consistent grind as far as animation goes, you can get back to it.
I think we might be entering an era of smaller budget stuff in general.
Yeah.
And that might possibly mean more animation. But it's going to take a while for that to happen, because animation costs less. I think it's just companies have a fear of spending money on something that they're not going to get a return on in like a few years, unless they feel like it's going to be a huge hit. And to be honest, the public, there are people that just don't watch animated movies. They just don't, or shows. They just don't want to watch animation.
Yeah.
Period. Regardless of anything, it's like
it's cartoons.
It's like it's not even just cartoons. It's a visual thing. It's like saying like there are just some people that just say, I don't like that actor. Why do you like that actor? I don't like his face. I don't like the way he talks.
Well, it's like me with sport. I look at sports, and it's just nothing.
And it could be fun for you, but you just won't do it.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of people like that. And we obviously we think animation, like animation is cinema. Animation is just it's not a genre. It's a medium. And that's true. But not everyone feels that way. And you're talking generations of being taught that, sure. But at its core, it's also, I think some people do actually have a hard time watching a cartoon or watching an animated thing and feeling something. I feel bad for those people, because I feel like maybe it's really hard for them to empathize. I feel like if you're able to look at an illustration, an avatar of a thing, especially if it's like an animal, an anthropomorphized thing or a creature, you're already partway there into being able to empathize.
Yeah.
You
look at stuff like BoJack Horseman, the idea
Sure.
of it just seems so ridiculous. But when you watch it, there's a lot of people who see it as if it's not even animated. It's just like you're so invested in their story, you almost forget.
There's also a lot of people who won't watch it because they don't like the way it looks.
Yeah.
He's
a horsehead man.
Right. So anyway, I feel like we're kind of getting back into like a dire thing, but I just wanted to mention that I think that there is something positive to look forward to. Yes, we are in a bad place, and yes, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, not just from layoffs, but also just from not being able to get jobs. You're going to go, a long time without getting jobs, and you're going to have to find something else, and then that might end up being your new career. You're going to have to figure out a way to shift. some kids that have graduated school now that are not getting work. That you're young. It's early. You might want to think about other things. I'm not saying that you should. If you have a real passion for it, do it. Do your own thing. Get your stuff out there. Make a pitch Bible. Start pitching stuff around, because you might find that in a couple years or a few years, there is a response to what we're going through right now. It's just right now, things are really, really bad.
Yeah. We also have to realize we have a talent. We have like this almost superpower that nothing and no one, unless you have this ability to do this, can replicate. So what's our next story?
Well, okay. I mean, I guess I can do the next story. Do you think that's enough? You think we wrapped up? We wrapped up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. Let's see,
that was supposed to lead to a joke about AI.
We're supposed to lead to a joke?
Oh no! I said no one can replicate, and then
Oh,
AI.
Okay. Yes. So actually, our next story was our next story. We're actually so we're done with animation news of the week, because it was just Annie Awards and Coyote versus Acme. Our next story is kind of a subset of animation news of the week, which we were calling AI Watch. So lame. It's beyond lame. That was Rob's idea, by the way. He was the one who was like, "Oh, we're gonna do a robot voice,
Listen,
right?"
you worked a few years on the Late Show.
I called it AI Watch because of the iWatch. But the thing that I'm wearing right now. But
I thought it was us. Keeping an eye on AI.
That's fine. Listen, I feel like we can talk about this forever and ever and ever, and we're going to continue talking about it. But I think let's. How do we say? Okay, the Animation Guild (TAG) had an AI and animation report that they had released, and it surveyed 300 executives, managers, people in that place, of what the impact AI was going to have on the animation landscape.
Yeah.
And essentially what they came up with, raw numbers, 62,000 entertainment jobs in California spanning film, TV, music, and gaming are going to be disrupted by the rise of artificial intelligence in artificial intelligence in the next 3 years.
We've talked about this many times, where it's just something that we can barely, it's hard to be like, hey, don't look at that. What's that? Nothing to see here while the building exploding in the Naked Gun movie or
yeah.
It's either Naked Gun or The Simpsons. Every
That's all
reference
of our
I
references. So we instantly made ourselves not credible by outing ourselves as being old. Naked Gun.
Yeah. Which they're gonna make another one with Liam Neeson.
I know.
Yeah. But it's just,
I love Liam Neeson being.
I think it's a smart move, because everyone talks about how you got to really sell it.
Oh yeah,
seriously. And
I think it totally makes sense.
Yeah, but it is a threatening thing, and I'm glad that there are laws and kind of things kind of being brought up.
Yeah,
because it will get better. It will advance. That's what technology does.
Right.
So yeah, I guess it's good to convince people that it's not great. It looks ugly, and there is a lot that looks ugly, but there's some that you're like, oh wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yes, we've had our thoughts on AI, and basically, I think to summarize, it's like I said, you can't uncook it. It's there. We're gonna have to deal with it. So you're just gonna have to invite it in. Your mom's new friend Ron is like a part of your family now. Just deal with it,
Dad.
just deal with it. But there are avenues that I think that we can use for our creative work. But I don't want to disencourage someone. I don't want to discourage. I don't want to discourage anyone from not screaming about it at the top of their lungs, because I do think that the bad PR, the bad press that it's getting is good for stopping companies from moving too fast. And that's really important. You don't want to, you don't have people do, like I said earlier, I have a puppy. Sometimes puppies get really excited to eat. You got to spread out their food a little bit.
Yeah.
So they don't eat so fast and then just vomit everywhere.
Oh, I know.
And that's kind of like, it's a little like treating the industry like a child, but it's not a real thing. The industry is an industry. It's a collection of shit. Mm-hmm. I just want to read this. A third of respondents predicted that AI would displace 3D modelers, sound editors, re-recording mixers, and broadcast audio and video technicians by 2026. Essentially, they're saying that 3D modelers was an interesting one because that comes up over and over and over again. My assumption, I just burped. I didn't burp, but it was in my throat, so
I told you you're going to hear
body sounds.
You're going to hear our body. Our bodies.
Gotta hear our body sounds. Is that a body rock reference?
It's a R&B compilation.
There you go.
Robin Brooks?
Yeah. The gurgles in the throat. What was I saying? Oh, 3D modelers.
Yeah.
I think the idea of AI taking this spot of 3D modelers is the idea that you have 2D images that are drawn, and then you can have AI look at that and turn it into a 3D model. I think that's kind of what they're saying. And, sound editors, mixers, broadcast, whatever, video technicians. I think that they're talking about the tools that are coming in. It's going to... I think what they're saying is it's going to reduce the amount of jobs that would normally take. So what normally would take like 8 people to do this thing might take 2 people using AI to do most of it and then correcting some of it, right? Something like that. That's displacing. And then 15% flag storyboard artists, illustrators, animators, and look, surface, and material artists as vulnerable to AI. You could see something storyboard artists. I don't necessarily know about AI taking over, but you could see people being able to work faster, produce more panels using AI by inputting certain things and selecting angles on the fly. You can see stuff like that.
Yeah.
The point I think about AI in general is it going to make things faster? Yes. Making things faster, is it going to then reduce the need of people to be in those jobs? Possibly. Definitely in the short term for anyone looking to cut corners and, cost cut. But, companies also like to make a bang for their buck. So I think it's actually more likely that it's just going to be used with the same budgets that we have to make things better, to make things faster, to get like more. I would love it if it meant that instead of the orders of 10 and 12 and 13 episodes, we got 18, 20, 22 episodes. I would love that. I don't think anyone's been talking about that, but maybe not. I don't know. But the point is, I think it's just we don't really know exactly how it's going to suss out at the moment. But this displacing thing, this disrupting, tech always does shit like that. That's what they do. They come in and they just fuck shit up, and then you have to pick up the pieces and figure, oh, okay, all right, well, I guess we need to buy you out so we can do it. ChatGPT was bought by what? Microsoft, and then they put it in Edge, and it was a huge disaster because, like, they thought, oh, a chatbot is kind of like a search engine. It's like, no, not really. It's an aggregator of information, kind of. It kind of takes in a large amount of information and spits it back out in a pattern that it thinks that would be what you're asking for. Yeah. That's kind of what that stuff is. Tech likes to be flashy.
Yeah.
You know, they want to go like they want to have a big thing to show at a show and be like, ooh, look how great this is, and it's gonna revolutionize, it's gonna disrupt. You know, has nobody watched Silicon Valley? That's what the whole show of Silicon Valley was. It's all a trick. It's all a trick. None of this flashy stuff actually does what they think or say it is in the end.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of relate it to learning a language, where the first 1,000 words that you learn, it's like, holy shit, I can say all this stuff. I can communicate. I can go to this country with these 1,000 words and get my way around, and I can order food and whatever. It's very impressive. But the next threshold you have to meet is like learning like 10,000 words. Like that's the next threshold. You can get by perfectly fine, but the next threshold is like, can you have a conversation with anyone? In order to get there, you have to learn so much more.
Yeah.
And then to be fluent is years and years and years. It's and I said this to you before, but like I asked you if you know what an asymptote is. Do you remember what an asymptote is?
I do not.
Really?
I remember you told me, and then I think
you laughed at the asymptote.
Yeah, I just kept saying ass and toad.
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay. You've seen the curves where you see like a thing. It starts out here. On the bottom is time.
Yeah.
On the top or on the side
yeah.
is like the, let's say, the quality of something. And you see it goes up really fast in the beginning, and then it kind of curves off and starts to steady off into a plateau.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then on top of that, you see kind of a dotted line on the top that looks kind of like that plateau is touching it, but it's not really touching. It's getting really close to it. That dotted line is the asymptote, right? So it's kind of like saying when you say like, I don't know, divide by 3, it's 0.333333333 on into infinity,
Yeah.
right? The asymptote would be perfectly 1/3, right? So it's 1/3. 1/3 is an actual real thing. But to express that in terms of a number is 0.3 repeating on to infinity. It's a line that never quite gets it's like a curve and a line that is getting closer and closer and closer, but never quite gets to that dotted line. That's the asymptote, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? It's appropriate that I'm saying this during a conversation about tech. The point I'm making about this, battery's still on. The point that I'm making about this is that I feel like where we are right now is we're at the beginning of that curve. You know, in the beginning, it's like Will Smith eating spaghetti. That's really fucking funny. But like, oh, these other things look like fantasy novels. They look like romance novel covers. It actually looks like someone painted this or did this. You know, it's kind of impressive in the beginning. And then the next thing you get to is fucking Sora, right? Sora took the internet by storm recently. It was text to video. It's like, oh my God, a while ago we were at Will Smith eating spaghetti like this. And now we're at this thing that looks like it's a drone that's following this couple walking in Japan and during cherry blossom season. It's really impressive. It looks really, really good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what were your thoughts when you saw that?
I mean, yeah, I saw that, and for a while I didn't even read what the headline was, so I just assumed it was a trailer for something.
Right, just a video.
Yeah. So to see that, and you know, of course, after watching people review it, there's little kind of things that are like off, you know, but it has come a long way, and I guess that whole argument of like, you know, they're never going to understand fingers and stuff, it's still kind of an argument, but
sometimes, I mean, there was that the birthday video, which is the funniest one. It's the grandma with the birthday. The candle flames are going different directions. There's the one woman in the background who's just like twirling her hands around.
Yeah.
There's the one who's clapping but not really clapping. There's the other guy who's kind of clapping, but then another hand comes out of nowhere. It's really funny. But that's a really complicated scene. You have something like this, which I'm showing you. This is this animated GIF of this woman walking in a city. It's rainy. There's reflections on the bottom. It's like, kind of correct lighting.
Yeah.
That's really, really impressive. I just feel like this is exactly the kind of thing that tech does.
Yeah.
They get close. They get us so close, and they get super flashy to be like, look, we're here. This is going to take over everything. Mocap. We're back in mocap. Remember, mocap was going to take over everything. Remember, you brought up last time we were chatting Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Remember when that was going to take over everything?
They were like, this is going to replace actors. Which you need actors.
We constantly are there. And yes, it's entirely possible that this may be different. That this may be the one piece of new technology that is truly revolutionary to the point where we can just type in something and make a movie. I'm telling you right now, this is hot, steamy, chunky horseshit. I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen enough.
Remember when the first commercial we saw where there was like a celebrity who's passed, and they were vacuuming.
Yeah.
And I guess they replaced maybe a microphone or a mic stand or something with a vacuum or something. And we're like, oh wow, this is going to be something where, we're going to see movies starring like dead celebrities who's passed because we have enough information on them. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Maybe
it's entirely possible that you can do something like that. You can absolutely replace a character with someone else's face using deepfake right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility, but it's also been something we've talked about for years. As soon as we saw like an ad with something like that, so yeah, I think it's just one of those things that is just it's impressive, and it would be hard to take over a whole like industry,
Yeah, and if there's one thing that you can take away from my whole explanation during the whole Wile E. Coyote, the big business thing. Business doesn't really like change all that. It likes doing what it knows, and it's going to stick with that, right?
Yeah.
It like if there is a system in place to do it, it's going to do that. What they're looking for is efficiencies. They're looking for ways to kind of cut corners here, there. So yes, is AI going to cost people jobs? Yes, because it's going to make things faster. I don't think it's going to take over entire careers, I think is what I'm saying, right? So this sort of thing, you look at it and go like, wow, that's really impressive. But also, if AI is going to kill a career, it may be a career of creating stock footage, right? Because it's getting pretty good to where you could probably just... But it's only because there's so much stock footage that it had to learn on.
Yeah.
That's the reason. So it's not like killing it because it's so smart. It's killing it because we have years and years and years of stock footage to learn off of. So that's why this is impressive. It's impressive because there's so much stuff that it can train on. Are there so many movies and actors and things that it can train on? Absolutely. Scripts, absolutely. Books and media, absolutely. It can totally do that. But all it's going to do is it's going to give you a remix version of something that you've had before. It's not going to give you a finished version. You have something like stock footage where you're only going to use a small snippet of it. There's a big difference between using AI to create 5 usable seconds of an aerial shot of a town in Italy versus using AI to write a screenplay for a movie. Can it do it? Yes. It is absolutely going to be able to do it. And that is kind of where I think it's important for people to put in guardrails now, so that it will lend itself more to incentivizing people actually putting pen to paper so that we're not just regurgitating the same things over and over again. But as I said, generations are a response to the generations before them. Businesses and the rise and falls of things are the response to whatever the situation was before. Even if AI starts to take over and we start getting all these regurgitated, bullshit things, there's going to be a response to that, and people are going to want to take over because we're just going to see the same things over and over again. I think people get too wrapped up in the idea of sci-fi apocalyptic, we're all going to be just watching, it's all going to be idiocracy kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is definitely that's the end of a trend of a best fit line of a certain thing, but that's not the way life goes. It goes up and down and up and down. And this thing, the reason I say it's horseshit is because this has all the hallmarks of companies that are just trying to get in there to fuck things up and to worry companies or to impress companies to go like, ooh, that's making the idiots in the stock market go, oh, AI must be the big new thing. So now every company has to be like, we have an AI thing too. We have an AI thing too. Make the stock price go up. That's all it is. And I promise you from the depths of my heart, that's what it is. However, in 5 years, definitely 10 years, literally every single program you use in animation and art in general is going to have some form of AI, something in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, even with my job now, there's a lot of AI things for Photoshop, and
right.
I remember someone sharing that new feature where you can just like highlight something, you can expand your house. Like a lot of YouTubers are creating their own background where it's just like, they're at a white wall and they do a wide shot and it's just like now all of a sudden they're in this like mansion,
right?
They were just like, oh my god, holy shit, we're in trouble, because if you're doing mock-ups of stuff, there's I could literally highlight something and put a red Ferrari in this living room right now.
Which, this is what I'm saying. If there are 8 people doing that similar job, this might mean there are 5 people doing that job. Yeah. Using AI because it comes out faster. The thing that I think that people also have to recognize is animation as a whole. It relies a lot on handoffs from one department to another department, but there's also a lot of parallel work. There's work that is done in tandem. And so it's not really going to take over everything because it's not worth it to hand everything over to something else. Unless you're dealing with like really, really small stuff. So like mocap, for instance, I think actually mocap created a lot more jobs that wouldn't have existed before in stuff like visual effects where, yeah, sure, companies may have wanted some visual effects, but they might not have gone to just straight up animating a character. They were like, okay, well, I guess we'll put like a guy in suit or something like that or do something else. Mocap just allowed for companies to feel a lot more comfortable going like, okay, yeah, we'll make this character a totally animated character. Okay, yeah, we'll go mocap for this type of thing. And
if you were selling ping pong balls, you were in business.
Well, that's not even a thing anymore. But I think it's just a division of stuff. Because remember, we're also in a time where companies are starving for content.
Yeah.
It's just they don't want to spend a bunch of money on content. That's the problem. The problem is the content versus money. If AI can be used to reduce the operating costs to create the quote content, which used to be called entertainment, by the way, but now it's called content. But if they can use this, or vendors, animation studios can use this to reduce the cost, to get things out faster, more efficiently, so they can turn it around to other things. That may mean they greenlight other things. I'm not saying that's likely. I'm not saying that's even. I'm not saying that's possible. I'm not saying that's likely. Whatever the phrase I'm trying to use. The point is, we may be in a situation where once AI is able to work its way into the tools and people are using it. This is why I'm saying like get used to it and start using it and start like looking at it. I say that having not actually used it, but if we're looking at a time where companies are tightening their belts, and they're not green lighting a lot of things, if they feel more comfortable green lighting things because stuff happens faster or more reliable, in a certain budget, right? If maybe less overtime, something like that, more strict, reliable budgets. It might mean instead of green lighting 10 things, they green light 11 things, even though the budgets are less. What that kind of means is like, yeah, it might mean less jobs, but it might mean more projects, which kind of means more jobs if they're happening at the same time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell where we are in the AI development right now. What I'm saying exclusively, definitively, this is not going to replace entire careers.
Yeah.
What it might be doing is it might be taking some of the things that you might be doing, or it might be taking some of the parts of your... I mean, fuck, man. Like, I think... I've been talking to a lot of illustrators who are very worried about it. It's like, oh, this is going to take our jobs, and it's just like built on our backs and everything. And I think some of that is a very real worry, but some of that is also because illustrators are not used to tech coming for their jobs. I just brought up mocap. There's tons of other things that have been coming for animation for fucking years, and it never works out that way. They're just not used to the tech coming and horning into their space. But Photoshop, how have we not talked about Photoshop? Photoshop was, in fact, before that, there's like matte painters and illustrators and all sorts of things. Photoshop comes out and it's like photos being mashed together, you're photo bashing things together. It's supposed to be the destruction of photography and illustration. And now illustrators almost exclusively use things like Photoshop to create their things, like wonderful creations. The tech is going to even out to a place where creative people use it in creative, impressive ways that are going to be monetarily important for companies, because all they care about is how fast can we do it, how good can we do it, and can we get more shit done.
Yeah,
that's what's important. Anyway, I get a little heated about that because people get very up in arms about this one particular thing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be worried about it. You should be worried about it. You should be up in arms about it. You should be fighting about it, and you should be putting blockers as much as possible in to slow down the feeding, so to speak, so that the industry doesn't vomit all over itself. To use my relation from before. I'm just saying, internally in your head, if you have anxiety and you have fear over this, just think about it for a second and try to learn a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think people are always going to know you're using a filter on your dating profile picture.
Right.
I think that's the same thing with AI. Oh, they're using AI for that.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of, and then it kind of lowers the value of like.
Can I tell you something? I just watched.
Experience.
I just watched. I fell asleep. Full disclosure, I was trying to do some of my own stuff today, and I was like, you know what? During lunch, I'm gonna put on this Aquaman movie, this new Aquaman movie, because it's on HBO, and I just want to see it. I just want to see like, how good or bad it is. I fell asleep. I remember the beginning, and I woke up at the end. I saw a clip at one point when I was awake of Aquaman and what I guess is an emaciated Patrick, was his name, Wilson, with a big beard, I guess, like riding what looked to be centipedes made out of bones that were climbing up like rocks and things like that.
Makes sense.
I saw that, and they were like, woo! They were riding it like they were riding horses, right? And it was this extended scene. The thing went on for probably 45 seconds. And I couldn't have been more bored. And I just thought, like, who's impressed with this anymore?
Yeah.
It's all, the entire thing is computer generated. There's no excitement. There's no threat. There's no anything. You're just watching shit. I think that
But when you see practical effects,
you see practical effects. You see, yes, exactly.
oh, that's great.
And we're starting to come around on that kind of thing. We're starting to come back to that. And, rest assured, that's what's going to happen with AI. It's, I see people sharing stuff all the time. It looks very samey, and AI, I think, is, unfortunately for AI, it's not going to be able to get away from having a particular look to it. Now, that's not to say the same thing as something like a deep learning thing like Stable Diffusion. Because Stable Diffusion, you can use your own art style and teach it your own art style and turn whatever you want into that. And I saw stuff like that, and I immediately went, crowds, extras, backgrounds.
Yeah.
Fucking everyone hates doing that. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It is a thankless job. You're just creating character after character after character. And especially if you have like writers who don't come from animation, they're just like, oh yeah, a football stadium. You're like, wait, a football stadium of characters that have to clap? They all have to clap? They're not just like sitting there? They all have to cheer? Are you kidding me? Yeah. And you start to design something and go like, oh, maybe we can just have it painted like, and then the person, again, who doesn't know anything about animation is like, no, we want to see their faces because we're going to zoom in on them. We're going to have like, okay, so great. So that's kind of a thing where you would imagine you would have like, a deep learning AI thing like Stable Diffusion learns your characters. You get a bunch of photos or semi characters, blur them, whatever, have them apply, interpret a new character there, and then Apple is creating this keyframer thing, which is kind of a text to animation generator, which I think I made this joke before to you, but that it just reminded me of the scene from what am I thinking? Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers, where he's like drawing two people. Yeah. And then like hits the animate button and it goes into kisses and stuff like that. And like
it's been the joke we've made for years when you're working with someone who doesn't understand animation.
The animate button.
Oh, yeah. I guess I'll just hit the animation button. No, that backed.
Well, so that's the thing is I feel like you train it enough on understanding like illustration, like this is where the arm is, this is where it would be so great. Honest to God, it would be so fucking great if you could have AI that would be able to look at a crowd of people and see where all their eyes are and just give you random blinks. Holy fucking shit. That would be amazing. Yeah. Can you the mind numb the tedium of going in and doing blinks, boutique blinks for everyone in an audience is so annoying. And the thing is, we're talking mostly about you have a particular crew, and oftentimes you'll have a particular crew, and you write to a show or something like that, or write to a movie, and then all of a sudden it gets to be bigger than that. Ads as well, very similar thing. It gets to be bigger than that. We call it scope creep in freelance. It's probably a similar thing in elsewhere, but it's just where the demands of the project get bigger than you were planning on. The pipeline that you have was not there to support this.
Yeah.
And in my case, it was like a football. It was a football stadium. It was like a high school football thing. While we had people in church and people like it was just crowds and crowds of people on like our first episode of something. It was just everyone had to stop and create as many characters as possible, and all of them had to clap, and then we had to have people like make generic arms that would clap and then copy and paste those and change colors of the sleeves and everything. It was
because people will point out duplicates of people.
Sure.
I've seen that in movies. I've seen it in
But it's just a thing where, like, honestly, sometimes writers will just do that. They'll just say, like, oh, a crowd of people. And if that's a thing and it's wanted for the creative, for the showrunner, the producer, the people who are making the decision, if they really want this, you have to find a way to make it happen. Yeah. And I think that's the kind of thing where AI is going to help out. It's not necessarily like you're really planning to do it. It's going to give you some flexibility. And that's why I'm saying, like, it might stop people from having to work overtime like crazy. You know, it might actually be able to step in. It might step in to help grease the wheels of certain tedious things that you have to check things over and over and over again. I am worried that we are going to enter a space where companies are so excited about AI that they're just going to start creating wholesale projects with AI. You know what's going to happen. But I just fully believe, because I have seen tech do this in the last like 25 years, they constantly are coming in, fucking shit up just enough to get, oh, wow, it's going to disrupt everything. People buy them, and then they implement it in a way as like, oh, yeah, this just kind of fits in with the rest of what we're doing. And then you just keep going on, business as usual.
I think a bigger, like, threat in animation in, like, the past, like, I don't know, maybe 30 years has been, you know, from going from hand-painted cells and working on paper to going digital.
Sure.
And I think that was like a big threat.
Yeah, we talked about that on our AI episode.
Yeah. So like something like that, where it's still people in the industry working on that, but either people have to kind of get it and learn how to do it and figure it out, or they just hire younger people who know how to do this. And that kind of took away jobs, you know, when, you know, because people would send their work overseas to work on stuff. And that kind of eliminated that, where you can kind of work in-house.
Well, so it did here, but also recognized that it created a lot of jobs overseas. And I think there's a lot of people who like, yeah, but they're like paid nothing. They're like, and I think there is something to be said for that. But yes, the cap system comes in and ink and paint kind of goes away. But to that point, it took a while for ink and paint to die off. Like, it wasn't killed immediately. And it did shift to other places. You know, overseas did ink and paint for many, many years. It just became something where it was less valuable, and it became they needed to find a way to do it cheaper. So, yeah, if there is something where AI is kind of taking a job, it's probably going to reduce the need for as many jobs, or the wage, the price of the job.
Yeah,
that's probably the kind of thing that's going to happen. That's where the unions come in to make sure that you put a stopgap there to make sure that it's not reducing that. So anyway, I mean, we talked about this a lot, and I don't kind of want to go. I'm just saying the biggest threat to us right now is what's going on with the Coyote versus Acme stuff. You know, it's the companies merging. It's the projects not getting greenlit. It's stuff like that. That's the threat to our jobs.
Yeah.
AI is not the threat. Everyone's looking over here. Over here is the problem. I did that with my hands, but I think people listening to the podcast can understand what I'm saying. Those were two different areas that I pointed
Listen to your left speaker and then your right speaker.
As we speak into mono microphones. All right. I think we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that I had a point about Wile E. Coyote. The irony of the movie is just it's a small creature fighting against this big company, and no matter how many times this company screwed him over, he's still gonna buy their stuff.
That's great, and it's such a good rapid fire. Oh my God, we haven't done rapid fire in a while, and also it's really hard to yell in this apartment. But rapid fire, if you haven't heard this segment before, is where we take a bunch of stories, a bunch of things, and we just go through them. Minute max. A minute max story. We try to give our thoughts and our feelings very quickly on them because there's just so many stories to go through. So are you ready? I am going to go through them myself. Right. And you know what? I'm gonna start. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you a little heads up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with our movie and TV catch up, and then I'm gonna go to some other things.
Okay.
All right. Excuse me. 1 second.
Yep.
Okay.
Rapid fire.
Ready? Orion in the Dark.
Okay.
It's on Netflix. Did you see it?
I went to my mom's house and she had it on.
Uh-huh.
I know. I don't know how she had it on because she does. She might have been watching it through. But the clip that I saw 15 minutes of it, and I laughed. I was like, "Whoa!" I was not expecting these kind of jokes for this movie. It felt like a very dark humor kind of.
You know who it's written by?
Dark humor.
You know
No, I do not.
Charlie Kaufman. So Charlie Kaufman, being John Malkovich, Anna Melissa, which we reviewed on the podcast. Yeah. Adaptation of like.
I think the designs kind of threw me off because I was just like, oh, okay, that's one of those run-of-the-mill kind of animation parts.
Totally.
The jokes, I'm going to give it another watch because I really like those jokes.
Well, you took 45 seconds, so I'm just going to say that
right.
I also saw about half of the movie because I had to do other things. But I also enjoyed it. I'm going to probably watch it another time. Rapid fire.
My mom was watching it illegally.
Okay, great. Sure, throwing it in the bus. Nimona was on Netflix. I saw Nimona. I kind of already gave my review on it. Did you see Nimona?
I did not see
Are you going to watch it?
I don't think I am. And I know we talk about it a lot. Maybe I'll watch one episode, but it doesn't.
What? It's a movie. Nimona.
Oh, it's a movie.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So maybe since it's a movie, maybe I'll give it a watch.
Yeah, you should give it a watch.
Yeah. Usually when it's a series, I get a little hesitant about, but yeah.
It's great. It's a lot.
Fun.
There's a lot of things to talk about it. I do feel like you're probably going to come away with the same feeling that I did, that the comedy is kind of, it's as the kids say, cringe. I find the cringe thing very funny because I find the younger kids cringe, but they keep talking about, like, listen, let's just admit that we both find each other cringe and just move on. But yeah, Nimona, it was great. It's a good movie. I recommend watching it. Okay, moving on.
Besides, fun.
Ted series.
Yes.
That is on Paramount. Or no, sorry, it's on Peacock. You said you saw it, right?
Yes, I watched maybe 3 episodes, and I enjoyed it. It's nothing that I'm going to be like, oh my god, I got to watch another episode of Ted. But that was.
I don't know if the audience heard me growling.
That was Ted's response. It's a good show. What I said to Steven was like, it's a good show to like have on before going to bed, and it kind of harps on those kind of old '80s sitcom like Alf.
Harps on them?
Wait, what's the word?
I mean, it trades on them?
It's one of those like obviously the theme song is doing these 80s kind of throwbacks of like, we don't get a lot of shows now.
You're running out of time.
You don't get a lot of shows now where there's a weird character living in your house.
Great. I haven't seen it, probably won't. Moving on. In the Know. In the Know is on Peacock. It's stop motion Shadow Machine. What's his name? Zach Woods is the main character. Plays an NPR radio host, and it's interviewing real people that it seems like they kind of do an improv thing and then stitch it together with some pre-written stories. Did you see it?
I did not see
I've been recommending it to you.
Was there a connection to Mike Judge with this one?
Yes. Yeah, Mike Judge, I think he produced it, but he's also in it as one of the characters, yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
You have to watch it. I'm saying, first of all, I think the finale, I think that it's only 6 episodes, and the 6th episode I really, really enjoyed. I really liked it. I thought it was very sweet. It was heartfelt in a way that I wasn't really expecting, maybe because I saw the rest of the series. Episode 3, I didn't like. It's the only episode that I didn't really like. I thought it was kind of silly. But episode 1 and 2 are good.
Okay.
And then you could probably skip 3, 4, and 5 and just go right to 6.
Right.
If you don't like 3. But I would give it a watch. It's good. Okay, moving on. Carol and the End of the World.
Yes.
So last time you were here, we watched an episode. You watched the pilot by yourself. I watched the pilot by myself. And then we watched the second episode together because we both simultaneously, spoiler alert, did not like the pilot episode. So we're like, hey, you know what? Maybe since the pilot ends where the pilot should have been, that's what ticked me off about it, because I got to the end of the episode, I was like, well, what the fuck did I watch this episode for? Now I'm at the beginning of the series of what it's supposed to be. This should be in the middle of the pilot. It's a minor gripe. Okay, fine. I didn't find the comedy all that great. We watched the second episode. What did you think?
It was, I didn't do anything to kind of save it from giving it another chance. And I did tell you I wanted to give it another chance because I like the idea, and I like the
love the
tone of
idea.
it, and I felt like it's a very kind of cinematic kind of feel to it, but the thing with me is just the main character. I just,
It's hard. It's hard to
her
listen
voice
to.
is very hard.
You want a bit of texture.
Yeah.
There's a point. She's
Exactly.
back. The puppy.
I
She
agree.
says the puppy agrees. You want a bit of texture in the voice. She's riding a motorcycle and she's like woo woo. It sounds.
She
It
cannot
doesn't
do
work.
rapid fire.
It's not rapid fire. So we go rapid fire. Scavenger Rain is another one. Have you seen that
No.
series?
No.
No. Okay. So we saw the. Did we see it together? Or no? Maybe I saw it at Ottawa. The animated short. And then that got picked up for a series. It's great. It's probably the closest thing I can think of to a tone poem, an animated tone poem, where it's just a bunch of alien worlds. So like the alien creatures that are on the world, the story. It's kind of like how they exist on these aliens. So they have to create it and then show you how they live there. It's nice. It's a nice thing to put on, and it's a screensaver.
Okay.
Is that it's insulting to say? It's beautiful.
Have it on in the back. Visually beautiful. and you
It's
can,
visually
kind of,
beautiful.
like,
It doesn't really have much of a plot, but it's visually beautiful. Okay.
Scattered rain.
Nope. We have a trailer for X-Men 97. What'd you think?
Yes. This was really cool. I remember, I used to watch the X-Men with my cousins and
X-Men the animated series on Fox.
And
yes.
my sister, we would all gather around the TV and we would call out who's who, and everyone just said I was Beast no matter what. It was just so I.
Beast?
Yeah, they were like,
Just-
Rob, you're Beast because you're fat. It was one of those. It's automatically
Not
Beast.
the Blob, because the Blob was on
Oh,
there
that's
too.
true. All right, yeah, I guess they were doing me a favor.
Hey, you know what? But Beast is very, very smart and one of the most agile of the mutants. So
That's true.
So that's good.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to just say, I like the trailer a lot. I know there's some weird controversy with changing Morph into a gender fluid or something. I don't know. There was some...
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, there's this whole thing going on now where there's just like... it's ironic because the whole...
Did they?
Because X-Men, the whole point of X-Men is
You're running
being
out of time.
excluded and all that stuff from society,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now everyone's like, X-Men's gone woke. I don't know. It's a whole...
X-Men's gone woke. Fuck
Yeah.
you. It's first of all, no. I like that. I didn't even know that. I like that. That's fine. It looked good. I guess I could give my 5 seconds because you take a minute. No, it's good. I'm gonna watch it because I also did the thing. It was a big influence on me. Okay, moving on. Rapid fire.
Right.
The TMNT show.
Yeah.
Did you see that? See that little thing?
I did. I like that it's not the designs. It's not exactly like the movie.
I like
Because
it too.
When the
How
movie
could it
comes
be?
out, then you can watch the movie.
Exactly.
So to have it completely different. I did see one comment on Twitter where they were like, "Is this the animatic?" Because they thought it didn't look polished enough.
I think that's bullshit. I think people. The internet can be a really toxic, negative place. That's bullshit. I thought it looked great. I'm excited. I'm gonna watch it. Not just because I'm a TMNT shell, but I really liked it.
Yeah. It should, entertain us until the movie comes out in 2026. I gotta live for that long.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Moving on. Rapid fire. Animal Logic merges into Netflix animation. That's kind of cool. I mean, so you brought up the Lego Movie earlier. Animal Logic was the studio that did that. But recently, I think they did Leo.
Yeah.
Did you watch Leo?
I did watch Leo. Yeah.
I liked it.
I liked it. It was one of those things.
I
where
did
people,
not know it was going to be a musical. That was
No,
surprising.
yeah. I don't think the songs were great.
I didn't like the fact that it was a musical. I just
Yeah.
wanted.
But Robert Smigel, I was like, okay, there has to be something there.
Oh yeah, no, it was
And,
good. And honestly, the songs were good.
Yeah.
No, I
It was
think it's
fun.
great.
I was not expecting that. And from the beginning, I was like, when it started, I was like, oh no, this is not going to be great. But it turned out pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that's great, and it means some pretty good stuff for Netflix. And like I said, in a time when companies are tightening their belts and not greenlighting a bunch of stuff, it's buying or merging with an animation studio means that at least they have a plan to continue releasing stuff, and so there is a future there. Okay, rapid fire. There is a new app that's called Praxanos. It's a 2D animation app that is using the Unreal Engine, so it's a real-time 2D animation program.
Yes, this is the one where you can use kind of like 3D elements in there, and it's kind of like an all-in-one kind of app.
I mean, you could do that in a lot of things. I mean, obviously there's Blender and Grease Pencil. There's a lot of things you can use 3D in, but this one specifically uses Unreal, the Unreal Engine. Unreal is a real-time render engine, so it's kind of built on speed and the idea of being able to render things very quickly. So when you animate something, you'll be able to export it. You'll be able to play it back. How many times have you animated something or done something, God forbid, in After Effects, right? You do something in After Effects and you composite it, and then you hit spacebar and you have to wait for like 20 minutes while it RAM previews.
Oh yeah,
it's like,
I mean,
takes a long time.
Working on the Late Show where you need something by 3 o'clock and it says, 2-hour render. Great.
Yes, exactly. Rapid fire. Vision Pro. Vision Pro came out. You got anything to say about it?
It looks goofy, but there are things that I think, a friend of ours have it, and he's pretty much been kind of talking about it, and I kind of like a lot of the things, but I very much want to be on the it's lame. I think if you go on vacation, this is one of my things.
You're taking up all my minute.
Okay, yeah, there are elements that are impressive, but it's still I'm not gonna get it because I can't afford it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's 30 seconds. Okay, so yes, I think that the people who are using it now are going to stop using it in about 6 months, and they're going to use it sporadically for a while. They're going to hold on to it because it costs $4,000. But the main thing, I used it. I thought the eye tracking was very impressive. The most impressive thing that I thought that I didn't know and people aren't really talking about is the audio. Somehow the audio, it's not in your ears, it's not in your headset, but somehow they make the audio sound like it's coming from in front of you or from left or right, and I thought that was very impressive.
The audio's coming from inside the house.
Exactly. The tech is very impressive, but this to me just is another example of a bit of tech that is very flashy, but ultimately it's going to be used very, very simply. They're going to take the tech and take the stuff that they learned from this, and sure, people are buying it now, but ultimately it's going to be put in something very small and very simple, and it's not going to be the VR overtaking everything. Eventually, it's just going to be worked into something that we already have. Okay, rapid fire. The Willy Wonka experience. We have to kind of at least mention that. This was a thing that happened in Glasgow. Apparently, there's a guy who came up with this idea. He used AI-generated images to sell tickets for this Willy Wonka experience, and they walked into a warehouse that was sparsely created with stuff that just looked like someone really wanted to put together a really good birthday for like their nephew's 6th birthday, and they only had so much money, and they had just a really big space that they could not fill. That's like what it looked like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got tickets for it. When I walked in, the owner said, "You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir."
Good job.
And I said, "I don't like the look of this."
Did you see there's the actor, one of the actors who played Willy Wonka, said something. I saw it on TikTok, and he was like, "I knew there was a problem when they looked at me and said Willy Wonka and not Oompa Loompa." Right from there. Oh, and then also I have to say this: you may see in the images there is kind of like a ghost-like character that's in there.
The unknown.
Yes. So do you know why?
Yeah.
Because there was an AI script that was written, and the AI created the unknown as the villain of it, and so they had to make it with. That's where it came from.
He's a meme succession. A meme
Obsession.
obsession.
Yeah, sure.
Or success, whatever.
You're great. Great. Okay, look at that. That's 14 minutes and 45 seconds we got done with our rapid fire. That may be one of our longest rapid fires ever. I have something that I want to say. There are some recommended readings that I would like to give people. It's saying having something that I want to say made it sound like I had something really important to say.
Yeah,
So I know.
What are you gonna
I'm quitting. No, it's just the recommended.
AI
so there's
too much.
I'm gonna link some of these if I can. There is a French film financing video essay. I think Nerdwriter did that one. There's a Vox article. Everyone's a sellout now. I sent that one to you. It's an interesting thing about having to be your own. And we should talk about that at some point because I have a lot of feelings on
Building your brand.
Well, that's the thing is like I feel like we kind of started that shit for like our generation started, and now I feel like I have some things to say about it for people that are coming up now of what to look out for and things. There's another article, How G Kids Became the A24 of Animation, which is an interesting article, but it is also interesting now that A24 has distributed Has-Been Hotel is now in animation. And then there's another one, why is animation in Europe different from the US? And then there's just a fun one that's just Tasmane AI, which I think I sent that to you. But it's just fun. It's just fun and clever.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, it's I'll just link it. Just click it. Just click it and watch the video. It's a clever
to AI.
Yeah,
AI
I like it.
situation.
I like it. It's cute. I don't know if there's anything else that we really need to say. And that'll do it for this episode of the Rubber and Animation Cut podcast. This is going to be it's gonna be a long one. This is gonna be like a 2.5 hour episode. I'm gonna probably not edit this one because it's been months since we released something. So let's just get out of here. Rob, why don't you tell him? Okay. Follow Rob at Rob Yofo. Follow me at Rubber Onion. Thanks for joining us. See you next month for our next thing. And please, if you're a patron, let me know what episodes or let me know what stories you want us to talk about in the Discord. And I'll be making a post on Facebook for the rest of you to post your stories of what you want us to talk about. And whatever we don't talk about, we'll go into rapid fire just like this one. Great.
Getting in the Uber right now.
Okay, all right.
See you later.
Okay, see you later, Alec.
Home, please.
What is that? Is that you? You don't say that with an Uber. You say that when you get in a cab.
My mom was like, "Do you tip the Uber guy after?" She's like, "Because I think it's in the app, right?" And I was like, "Yes, it is."
She's never used Uber?
No, they're scared. They think every time I get an Uber, they're gonna murder me, which can happen.
Cool. See you next week. No, next month. See you next month.
Unless my Uber driver kills me.